Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to Prime News on My Media Prime. My name is Peldrine Blanche King, and we begin the news today. The head of state, President Paul Biya, has finally broken the silence after over 36 days of sight, and he met yesterday with French ambassador to Cameroon, Christophe Guilou, at the Unity Palace. The meeting, described by Mr. Biya as fruitful, centered around the fight against COVID-19 in Cameroon, France, and the world. Fonquinta reports.
Known for his creative leadership style is Cameroon's President Paul Biya, last seen by Cameroonians on March 11, 2020, when he received U.S. Ambassador Peldrine. 36 days after his disappearance, the 87-year-old received French Ambassador Christophe Guilou in the Unity Palace on April 16, 2020. A visit described by Cameroon's president as fruitful, centered around a joint effort to fight COVID-19 pandemic in Cameroon, France, and the world.
Tout d'abord que j'ai retrouvé le président Biya, qui m'avait reçu en audience il y a un peu plus d'un mois. Donc toujours alerte. Nous avons une très longue discussion. Nous avons une discussion tout d'abord au cours de laquelle j'ai tenu à exprimer les remerciements de la France pour tous les efforts et toute la facilitation des autorités camerounaises qui ont permis le retour en France des Français qui ont été bloqués par la fermeture des frontières terrestres, aériennes et maritimes. Je lui ai également exprimé et rappelé tous les efforts de la France en faveur du Cameroun, qui traverse, comme beaucoup d'autres pays, une épreuve dure avec l'épidémie de Covid-19. Je lui ai donc rappelé les efforts qui ont été mentionnés par le président de la République, Emmanuel Macron. D'abord, d'un point de vue budgétaire, financier, le moratoire sur la dette, sur le remboursement de la dette pour le Cameroun.
At a time when the world is fighting the common enemy coronavirus, with measures implemented by different African and world leaders to combat its spread, Cameroonians for over 36 days were in a dilemma without knowing the whereabouts of their president, as his disappearance sparked a lot of reactions on social media. Though the president is yet to officially address Cameroonians on the pandemic, with the country now occupying the second position of the second most affected after South Africa in sub-Saharan Africa, his outing yesterday brought about 3 important measures to contain the spread of the virus in Cameroon.
The anti-COVID-19 measures adopted by the government of Cameroon have been extended. It will run for 15 more days, and according to the Prime Minister, Head of Government Chief Dr. Joseph Jangote, the decision taken by the Head of State, President Paul Biya, will change depending on how COVID-19 pandemic is managed in the country. Details in the following report. Prime Minister, Head of Government Chief Dr. Joseph Jangote has announced the extension of anti-COVID measures adopted by the government of Cameroon. The measures will last for 15 more days and is subject to change depending on how the pandemic is contained in the country. The Prime Minister was speaking yesterday in Yaoundé at the end of an interministerial meeting on the evaluation of the implementation of government's anti-COVID measures. During the meeting, the minister gave updates of COVID-19 in Cameroon.
Il est apparu que le nombre de patients testés positifs au Covid-19 continue d'augmenter. Les statistiques communiquées par le ministère de la Santé publique font état de 996 personnes infectées contre 731 le 9 avril dernier. Toutefois, 164 personnes ont déjà été déclarées guéries du Covid-19, tandis que l'on déplore 22 décès de suite de ce virus.
Chief Dr. Joseph Jangote also announced the urgent finalization of studies to assess the impact of COVID-19 on the economy of Cameroon and implementation of accompanying measures to support the most affected sectors and households.
Le gouvernement a pris la pleine mesure des difficultés auxquelles sont confrontés certains secteurs essentiels de notre économie du fait de la crise sanitaire mondiale liée à la pandémie du Covid-19. Je pense notamment à celui des transports ou encore à celui de l'hôtellerie-restauration. Je voudrais dire à ce sujet que les restrictions qui sont imposées à ces secteurs et bien d'autres depuis le 17 mars 2020 sont certes difficiles à supporter ou à gérer, mais elles sont indispensables pour protéger la communauté nationale face à l'ampleur de cette pandémie mondiale. Il va de soi que les restrictions inhérentes à cette crise sanitaire seront progressivement levées au fur et à mesure que la pandémie sera maîtrisée au plan national et international.
According to the decision taken by the head of state, President Paul Biya, announced yesterday by the Prime Minister, all schools nationwide will reopen on the 1st of June 2020 if the health crisis is managed. Stand-up Cameroon of Edith Kawala has visited the Senegal market and New Bell Mosque for sensitization and distribution of face masks in line of the fight against COVID-19 in the country. Stand-up for Cameroon was represented by Edith Kawala of CPP and Albert Motudu of UPC Manidem. And now let's get an excerpt from Edith Kawala.
We're here on the field to come and sensitize. And we chose New Bell, knowing that it is a very, very populated neighborhood. And we are seeing on the ground here the real difficulties of social distancing. People are living so many close together. And as we saw in the mosque, people are still quite many and quite close together. So we have distributed masks. We have also supported them because they are about to start the fast next week. But we see here on the ground the reality that the social distancing is very difficult, and it would have been better to have social measures that could enable people to actually stay at home rather than what we have right now, because it remains dangerous for the population.
Over to the southwest region of the country. As part of measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in Kumba, the city mayor led a team of health personnel yesterday to disinfect strategic areas within the city of Kumba. The city mayor was accompanied by the SDO for Meme Division. Details with Tamfu Sidwan Ndimbie in the following report.
The Kumba Central Market, Fiango and Three Corners Market, the Central Park, Mabanda and Buya Road Motor Parks, plus other strategic places have been disinfected by a team led by the Kumba City Council Mayor, Ngokele Victor. This Thursday, 16 April 2020's activity was carried out as a measure to stop the spread of coronavirus in the city of Kumba.
The whole world is affected by this pandemic they call coronavirus. And so we do in Kumba to make sure that we assure the security of the citizens of Kumba. We will ensure that their lives are protected, at least from our own end as a city council. That is why we have taken upon this initiative to go around disinfecting the parks, the markets, and those areas which are populated thickly by the inhabitants of Kumba.
As the activity went on, the strategic places were all deserted, following a communique for all markets and parks to be closed. According to Ngokele Victor, the mayor of the Kumba City Council, it would be disastrous if the virus hits the city.
Kumba is a cosmopolitan town. If this virus has to get into Kumba, it will be a total catastrophe. I want to tell you, because we are trying to take precautionary measures.
The city mayor was also accompanied by the senior divisional officer, the DOs, and other service heads within the Kumba city. In the same light, the Kumba city mayor and the senior divisional officer visited entry points into Kumba from Mabonji, Mabanda, and other entries from Bonge subdivision at Maiwan. In these places, people were asked to wash their hands, sanitize them, and were equally tested before getting into the city of Kumba. The Kumba City Mayor has, however, promised that all other measures must be taken to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the city of Kumba.
The population of Kumba have also expressed worries and difficulties respecting some measures adopted by the government in the fight against COVID-19 in Cameroon. Individuals are by these measures obliged to wear face masks, a situation which they say is necessary but difficult. Details again with Tamfu Sidwan from Kumba.
The wearing of face masks as a measure to curb the spread of COVID-19 has left the Kumba population in serious difficulties. While some say it gives them difficulties in breathing and talking, some say it provides uneasy heat.
I cannot breathe. It's impossible for me to breathe because when I put it on, but see, one of the symptoms of this corona or the forward is that difficulty in breathing.
I feel this is where government they don't bring us so the one will because now so when I start the overfeed I not feel breathe. Then we will begin to put out why the see army them not to put out. They think not to catch them.
After begin to say I want to forget.
The denizens are left with no choice than to use the face masks as most public places are accessible only to those with face masks.
Due to the pandemic that is ravaging the whole world, now we have to do it to protect ourselves and our family.
No, not for sure, we will not be used to it. But sometimes I will put on so we will be used to for it.
But anyhow, we will do we must obey to prevent the disease.
The disturbing issue is how dirty some of these face masks are, especially those used by commercial bike riders, truck pushers and other laborers in the city. The administration is also bent on applying economic sanctions on those seen in public spaces without the face mask, as the government strictly follow the implementation of the face mask. Most city dwellers are yet to implement all other measures to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 in Meme Division. However, so many people have been arrested in the city of Kumba because they failed to respect the wearing of face masks.
You're watching Prime News on My Media Prime. Inhabitants of Limbe Southwest region have equally expressed dissatisfaction over the continuous hike in the prices of basic commodities. To many, this is new and difficult for them to cope. Kuma Honore with details of that story.
Since the outbreak of the coronavirus in Cameroon, the business of nose masks and hand sanitizers have become a lucrative business venture for many, as the demand for basic hygiene and sanitation materials continue to increase while the supply dwindles. Ironically, many individuals who are involved in the business of nose masks and hand sanitizers do not respect consumers' rights, as they produce their goods without taking into consideration the prescribed standards put in place by medics. Many of the face masks we buy today from such traders either have thick materials that obstruct breathing or very thin materials that can permit droplets from a COVID-19 patient to infect them. The same situation too goes for the locally produced hand sanitizers, as many producers do not respect the percentage of alcohol they introduce to the sanitizers as well as other active ingredients. The alcohol content found in most of such sanitizers is not sufficient enough to kill droplets of the COVID-19 virus found on the hands.
Because the point is, this one will give a false impression of somebody that is being protected. You understand? If you want to do this thing here, there is another certain material. You understand? You put behind here. You understand? So that it should take, because ideally you should
like
be.
This one, I double this one. Double this.
Apart from that, you make it so small.
Yeah, you make it so small. You make it so small. When you make it so small like this, you understand? Okay, for children.
Yeah, this one is for children.
Okay, you understand? Yeah, you use a different light material. The ideal material is you are supposed to use this cotton material that has a different bad side, the wrong side here, and the good side here. So that, because that other one is another layer, and then you put that certain material behind.
Nevertheless, some traders involved in the business say they are conscious of the nature of the virus and so take into consideration when manufacturing their goods, coupled with the fact that much sensitization about the virus has been going on in different media and different platforms.
Support the community too for protect themselves from fight coronavirus. I decided to now, actually, I've been a food transformer, but I go into this one now because it's another thing where the population need now. And this face mask way I make, and so if you look at it, they're very high quality. I consider to make it cheap.
However, some upright-minded traders have decided to trade by example, as they make sure they follow the prescribed standards to manufacture basic hygiene and sanitation materials meant to combat COVID-19 virus. Some even go to the extent of putting the nose mask in plastic papers to avoid contamination, as some would prefer to measure the mask before buying.
No, we don't estimate for the rubber then. Because when you measure them, corona we say a virus. When you measure now, you get the virus, you don't really leave them for the face mask. So if man want buy them, if I look with the person as it stand like you stand, so I will know your size. If you add you leave them, you know the measure. If I do small picking, I will look at you know the one way, now picking your own. So they know the measure.
It is equally important for those in the hand sanitizer business to label their products and include the recipe content, as every consumer has a right to the product he or she consumes.
In sports-related news, the captain of the Indomitable Lions, Choupo-Moting, has been turned down by the Italian club Lazio in Rome upon his exploration for new avenues. Choupo-Moting was proposed to the Italian club by his managers, and the Lazios have politely declined the proposal despite their mad search for an attacker. Dolin Gonde took keen interest in the story and now reports.
Use of Cameroonian footballer Choupo-Moting in Paris Saint-Germain is now apparently obvious in Europe following his rejection by a big Italian club Lazio in Rome. Choupo-Moting will certainly leave PSG this year, given that the Cameroonian international's contract, which has only played 18 games for 5 goals this season, will expire at the end of the season. Very little used by his coach Thomas Tuchel, the captain of the Indomitable Lions certainly understood that the leaders of the Le de France club no longer count on him next season wasn't by the fact that his name is not included on the Champions League list for the knockout stages. Apparently, the former Stoke City player is on the start after this season. What will be Choupo-Moting's next base point is the question on the lips of his fans. This is why, before the end of his contract, he already started to explore new avenues. A few months before the opening of the transfer market, no club is cited to have been on the Cameroonian trail officially, even though negotiations probably took place privately, but they weren't made known. According to reports from the Italian media, the PSG striker has been proposed to Lazio in Rome, one of the most successful teams this season in Serie A. Even though the Italian club is looking for an attacking player, the local press indicates that the team has rejected the captain of the Indomitable Lions since they are not convinced by the profile of the 31-year-old forward. A few months before the opening of the summer transfer window, the future of Choupo-Moting was more than ever uncertain. Many suggest that he should leave the club in the French capital at the end of the 2019-2020 fiscal year.
And that's it for this edition of Prime News on My Media Prime. Thanks for watching. The news was produced by Ewane Eli Nolinga, coordinated by Faith Tata Berenyoy. Thanks so much for watching. Join us on Monday, God willing, for another edition of Prime News on My Media Prime. Meantime, stay tuned to My Media Prime. Prime Hour comes up with Kum Leonard and his guest, traditionalist Dr. Fru Richard. Good night and happy weekend.